Hello, welcome to my channel, and today I am going to read some parts of The Silver Eye and read chapter 5, so yeah. When they got to the motel, Jessica was already there and so was John. He stood up when Charlie walked in. I was worried about you. I thought maybe I could sleep on the floor. He waited nervously for our actions, as though he might have realized only upon seeing her that he might have overstepped her boundaries. On another day, in another place, Charlie might have been annoyed by his excessive concern, but here in Hurricane, she was glad to have it. We should all be together, she thought, safer. She wasn't really afraid, but unease still clung to her like cobwebs, and John's presence had been a common one ever since they arrived. He was still looking at her, waiting for a response, and she smiled at him. As long as you don't mind sharing the floor with Jason, she said. He grinned. Let me just have a pillow and I'll be fine. Marlo tossed him one, and he stretched elaborately, set it on the ground, and lay down. They all went to bed almost immediately. Charlie was exhausted now that her injury had been cleaned and bound. The adrenaline of that night left her body all at once, leaving her drained and a little shaky. She didn't even bother changing to pajamas. She just collapsed on the bed next to Jessica and was asleep in seconds. Charlie woke just after dawn, when the sky was still pale and a little pink. She looked around the room. The others wouldn't be up for hours, she suspected, but she was too alert to try and to fade back into sleep. She grabbed her shoes and stepped over Jason and John's sleeping bodies. Went outside. The motel was set a little ways back off the road. Trees spread thickly around and behind it. Charlie sat down on the curb to put her shoes on, wondering if she could go for a walk in the woods without getting lost. The air was crisp, and she felt renewed and energized by the brief night's sleep. Her arm hurt, a dull and pulsing pain that kept drawing her attention, but did not let blood through the bandages. Charlie usually found it easy to ignore pain when she knew she was not in danger from it. The woods were inviting, and she decided to risk giving up. As she was about to stand, John sat down beside her. Morning, he said. His clothes were rumpled from his night on the motel floor, and his hair was a mess. Charlie held back a laugh. What? He said. She shook her head. You look a little like your old self today, she said. He looked down at himself, and shrugged. Clothes don't make the man. What are you doing up so early? I don't know, couldn't sleep. What about you? Someone stepped on me. Charlie went, sorry, she said, and he laughed. I was just kidding. I was awake. I was going to go for a walk, she said, pointing to the tree line out there somewhere. Do you want to come? Yeah, definitely. They headed into the woods, and John hung back for a moment, surreptitiously retucked his shirt, trying to smooth out the wrinkles. Charlie pretended not to notice. There was no path, and so they made their way through the trees at random, glancing back now and then to be sure that they still could still make out the motel parking lot. John stumbled over a fallen branch, and Charlie reached out with her good arm to catch him before he fell. Thanks, he said. Strong arm, too. Well, you caught me yesterday, so it's only fair that I catch you back. Now we're even, she said. She looked around. The motel was squarely in sight, and she felt concealed, made by the woods. She could say anything here, and it would be all right. She leaned back against the tree, picking idly at the bark behind her. You know Freddy's wasn't the first restaurant, she said it abruptly, surprising herself, and John looked at her quizzically like he had not quite heard her. She didn't want to say it again, but she forced herself to. Freddy's, it was my dad's first restaurant. There was a diner, a little one. It was before my mom left. I had no idea, John said slowly. Where was it? I don't know. One of those memories from when you were a kid, you know. You only remember the things that are right around you. I remember the live museum on the kitchen floor. It was this black and white diamond pattern, but I don't remember where the restaurant was or what it was called. Yeah, John said. We took a vacation to a theme park when I was like 3, and all I remember is the back seat of the car. So, were they there? He dropped his voice a little quarter when he said it, almost reflectively. Charlie nodded. Yeah, there's a bear and a rabbit, I think. Sometimes details get mixed up in my head. They're not like normal memories, she said, needing him to understand the story's defects before she told him the rest. It's like when you have a realistic dream. When you have a realistic dream, and in the morning you're not sure if it really happened or not. It's just impressions or snatches of time. She trailed off. She wasn't explaining it right. She had chosen all the wrong words. She was reaching too far into her memory, to a time when she did not yet speak. It was a time when she did not have the words to name the things she saw. And so now, when she tried to call them, the words could never be right. She looked at John. He was watching her patiently, waiting for her to go on. She wanted to tell him the story from her life that she had never told. It was not even a story, not really, just something that nagged at the edge of her mind. Something flashing by randomly in the corner of her eye. She was not entirely certain it was real, and so told no one. She wanted to tell John because she wanted to speak it to another person. Because he looked to her with trusting eyes and knew he would listen to and believe her. Because he had cared for her a long time ago. Because he had caught her when she fell, and he had come to her to sleep and keep watch all night. And though a pragmatic, slightly cruel part of her, because he was not part of her real life, she could tell him anything. And when she returned home, it would be as though it never happened. She wanted somebody to touch him, have confirmation that he really was there, and that this was not a dream, not another dream. She reached out her hand to him, and Leslie was glad he took it. He stayed where he was, as if afraid that moving in closer would scare her. They stayed that way for a moment, and then she let go, and she told him the story, the way she spoke it in her head, the memories of a small child mixing with the things she had come to understand as she grew older. There was another restaurant, rustic and small, with red checkerwood cloths and a table and a kitchen you could see into the dining area. They were all together, her mother, her father, her mother, and her mother, and us. When Charlie was very, very young, she was never alone. It was Charlie, and there was a little boy so close to Charlie that remembering him was like remembering a part of herself. They were always together. She learned to say we before she learned to say I. It's okay. This is funny.
No, course.
It's okay. They played together on the floor of the kitchen, sometimes drawing pictures while hiding under the hardboard table. She remembered the shuffling of feet and the shadows of customers walking by. Light was broken by the slowly turning fan and thrown across the floor in ribbons. She remembered the smell of an ashtray and the hearty laughter of adults long in a good story while their children played. Very often she would feel her father's laugh echoing from a distant corner as he talked to customers. When Charlie pictured him laughing like that now, it was with a little ache, a sucking feeling in the center of her chest. Because his eyes were bright and his smile was easy, and because he wanted them all to be part of the restaurant, to share his work freely. Because it's okay, we'll do that later.
No.
Yeah,
No.
because he was not afraid to let his children roam on the floor. He was yet untouched by grief, and so while he looked a little like the father she truly remembered, not the same man at all. Charlie was looking down at the ground as she talked, at the dirt and the stones, and cracked the remains of leaves in her hand at his aisle bag. Bobby, stop crying. Look, look, it's funny.
No, down. Down.
And her hand was at her back, stripping that bark from the tree. Does that hurt the tree? She thought, and forcing her hands away, nodding in front of her. The restaurant was open until late at night, and so when they began to falter, Charlie and the little boy would crawl into the pantry with blankets and soft toys to sleep until it was time to close. Really, Buffy?
Cars.
Cars? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You want to watch this one?
No, cars. Cars.
This one?
Cars. Cars.
This one?
No, cars.
You want to watch Cars? Okay. Hold on. Don't eat that.
Did they eat and I don't eat.
We're doing YouTube now. Alright, which one do you want? Bobby, which one do you want?
I'm doing cars.
You want that one?
No.
This one?
No.
This one? Bobby, do you want, no? Do you want this one?
Yeah, let's go with double.
Yeah? All right. The restaurant was open until late at night, and when they began to falter, Charlie and the little boy would crawl into the pantry with blankets and soft toys to sleep until it was time to close. She remembered using sacks of flowers as pillows, big bags almost as long as they were tall. They would snuggle down together and whisper words of non-sudden deep things only to the two of them, and Charlie would drift into sleep, half listening to the warm sounds of the restaurant, the clank of dishes, and the murmur of grown-up talk. and the sound of the bear and the rabbit as they danced to their chirping tunes. They loved the animals, the yellowish brown bear and the matching rabbit who wandered the restaurant, dancing and singing for the customers and sometimes just for Charlie and the little boy. They sometimes moved stiffly and mechanically and sometimes with fluid human movement. And while the boy liked the animals best when they acted like people, Charlie liked them the other way. Their stilted moments, their lifeless eyes, and their occasional glitches fascinated her. They acted alive, but they were not. The narrow yet bottomless clasp between those things, alive and not alive, enthralled her, though she would never have been able to explain why. I think they were costumes, Charlie said now, still looking at the ground. The animals weren't always robots. The bear and the bunny were costumes, and sometimes people wore them, and sometimes my father put it onto one of his robots. And you could always tell which it was by the way they danced. Charlie stopped. There was more, but she could not bring herself to speak. There was something else that made her lock down her mind and force the memory away. The part that made her unwilling to ask Aunt Jen for answers, because she was afraid of what those answers might be. Charlie had not dared to look at John the whole time she was talking. Stared only at the ground, at her hands, at her sneakers. Now, she did look at him, and he was rasped, seeming almost to be holding his breath. He waited, not wanting to speak until he was sure she was finished. That's all I remember, she said at last, even though it was a lie. Wait, who was the little boy, John said. Charlie shook her head, frustrated that he had not understood. He was mine, she said. I mean, he was my brother. We were the same. She was speaking childlessly, as if the memory had taken a hold of her, forcing her to regress. She cleared her throat. Sorry, she said, speaking more slowly, trying to choose her words carefully. I think he was my twin brother. She saw John open his mouth, about to ask the question, what happened to him? But there must have been something in her face, something warning, because he held it back and said instead, do you think the place was around here? I mean, I guess it could have been anywhere, another state. I don't know, Charlie said, slowly looking over her shoulders down at the trees. This all feels the same. Feels like I could walk around the corner and it could be there. Her voice began to break. I want to find it, she asked. Suddenly, and as soon as she said it, it was what she wanted to do. Well, what do you remember about it? John said enthusiastically, almost lunging forward like an eager dog on her lead. He must have been dying to go looking from the moment she mentioned the place. Charlie smiled but shook her head. I really don't remember much, she said. I don't know how much help I can actually be. Like I said, the things I remember are just little scraps. They're not information. It's like a picture book. She closed her eyes, trying to see the place in her mind's eye. The floor would shake. She lifted her head as the thought became clear. A train, she asked, as though John would know. I remember this thunderous sound every day. It was the biggest sound I'd ever heard. I don't mean loud, I mean you could feel it in your whole body, like it was rumbling right through your chest. You must have been close to some tracks then, right? John said. Yeah, Charlie said with a huge spark of hope. There was a tree out in front, she said it went on. It looked like an old, angry monster, hunched forward and risen, with two giant, gnarled branches reaching out like arms. Whenever we left for the night, I hid my face in my father's shirt. so I wouldn't have to see it as we walked by. What else? John said. Were there stores or other restaurants? No, I mean, I don't think so. I'm sorry. She scratched her head. It's John. It's not enough, John said, a little frustrated. It could be anywhere. A train and a tree. There must be something else you can remember. Anything? No, Charlie said. The more she pushed herself to remember, the harder it got. She was grasping blindly and was out trying to get a hold of the living creatures. As if the memory saw her coming and slipped away. She tossed out fragments as she managed to catch them. Tablecloth, red and white checkered, and made of real cloth, not plastic. She remembered grabbing one unsteadily on her feet. And the whole table setting, falling down on top of her, plates, glasses, shattering all around her as she covered her head. Charlotte, are you okay? Father's voice seemed clearer than ever. There was a squeaky floorboard in the corner of the diner that Charlie liked to push on, making it sing as if it made music. There's a picnic table out back where they used to sit in the sun, one leg of it sinking into the soft ground. There was the song her parents used to sing in the car whenever they came home from a car trip. They would burst into it when they were a little way from home, and then they'd start laughing as if they had done something clever. It's nothing helpful, Charlie said. Just kid stuff. She felt the little light-headed.
Oh boy.
She had spent so many years avoiding memory. Her mind shed away from the snake. Having it done, she felt strange and a little guilty, like she had done something wrong. But she also felt something that might have been joy. And the things she never allowed herself to think of. The memory of that time was unsafe. There were traps and snails, rats wrung into their very substance, but there were precious things among them. Shai said, I can't remember more. No, that's really impressive. I can't believe you remember that far back at all, she said. I didn't mean to push you, he added a little sheepishly, then looked thoughtful. What was the song? I think it was the same one they danced to at Freddy's, Charlie said. No. The one your parents sang in the car? Oh, she said. I don't know if I remember it. It wasn't really a song, you know. It was just a little line. She closed her eyes, picturing the car, trying to envision the backs of her parents' heads as though she was still in the back seat. She waited, trusting her mind to give it up, and after a moment it did. She hummed it for 6 minutes. We're back in harmony, she sang. And they do, harmonize, she said, embarrassed at her parents even now. John's expression was blank for a moment as the words at first seemed meaningless, but then his eyes lit with calm. Charlie, there's a town here, north of here called New Harmony. Huh? Well, she said finally. She listened to the words in her head, wanting them to set off an inspiration trip of memory, but they did not. I feel like they should ring a bell, but it doesn't, she said. She said, sorry, I didn't mean it. I mean, it didn't sound wrong, but it just doesn't sound right either. She was disappointed, but John still had that thoughtful look on his face. Come on, he said, vaguely, extending his hand. Charlie wiped her cheek and took a shaky breath, then looked at him. She nodded with an exhausted smile and got to her feet. And we are going to stop there. We're going to finish the rest here. And later. So Yeah, because it's a little long.
It was the best and part
So yeah, that is part 1. Stay tuned for part 2. Bye.